It's Friday, November 7th, 2025, and this is Washington Times Front Page. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. The Federal Aviation Administration is slashing airline traffic by 10% at 40 of the nation's busiest airports, including those serving New York, Washington, Los Angeles, and Chicago. Jeff Murdoch reports Department of Transportation officials say the move is necessary for air safety because of the shortage of air traffic controllers amid the government shutdown. Air traffic controllers have been working without pay since the shutdown began October 1st. Scores of them have worked 6 days per week with mandatory overtime, and absences have skyrocketed, triggering travel disruptions nationwide. Atlanta, Chicago O'Hare, Denver, Dallas, and Los Angeles, the 5 busiest passenger airports in the country, will be among those with fewer flights. Airports with heavy cargo traffic, including Louisville, Memphis, Anchorage, and Ontario, California, will also have fewer flights. The cuts will start at roughly 4% Friday, followed by 5% Saturday, and will gradually increase to 10% sometime next week. Former House Speaker and California Representative Nancy Pelosi says she will retire at the end of this term, closing out a 20-term congressional career. Stephen Dinan, Valerie Richardson, and Mary McHugh Bell report the 85-year-old won election to her San Francisco seat in 1987. She was the driving force behind 2 administrations, those of President Obama and President Biden, including the passage of the Affordable Care Act in 2010 and the recovery from the 2009 recession and the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic. Pelosi was elected by her colleagues as the first woman to serve as Speaker of the House, both from 2007 to 2011 and again from 2019 to 2023. Her departure opens a high-profile seat in an overwhelmingly Democratic district. The early favorite to succeed Pelosi is Scott Wiener, a 3-term state senator and former city supervisor who announced his candidacy 2 weeks ago. Also in the primary is Saikat Chakrabarti, former chief of staff to New York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Zohran Mamdani's stunning win in New York's mayoral race has altered the internal fight among Democrats ahead of next year's midterm elections. Susan Ferricchio reports Mamdani's celebration was barely underway when Ocasio-Cortez, a leader of the Democrats' progressive wing, warned the old guard leaders of her party. She lobbied her threat directly at top Democratic leaders who either refused to endorse Mamdani or did so reluctantly and with assurances that his socialist-inspired agenda didn't represent the future of the party. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer celebrated the party's big wins in the off-year elections and brushed off Ocasio-Cortez's threat and questions about party division. And finally, President Trump's threat to send U.S. forces into Nigeria to protect Christians from militant groups has drawn cautious praise and some concern from religious and political leaders there. Joseph Hammond reports Trump said he's asked the U.S. military to prepare for possible action in Nigeria after a surge of attacks on Christians blamed on extremists and Islamist insurgents. Several factors, including religious hatred, competition for land, and the diminishing authority of the state, have combined to contribute to a conflict cycle that appears to be escalating. Find all today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on social media at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.